This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, very good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome back. All right. So last session we were discussing about the shell scripting part, right? So let's try to recall what we are actually trying to do in yesterday's session. What we tried to do. So we just talked about. So we just talked about how do we have this I mean, how do we take the input from the user, right? So basically you have, I mean, what is your script? Basically, let's understand what is a script. Script is nothing but your bunch of commands, whatever you have. Okay, so those will be executed in an order. All right, so those will be executed in an order, so one by one you keep it in a file, and you just execute that particular file, and so it will be working. All right, so that's a simple script file. So now actually, like yesterday I was mentioning about, so now based on the input, so based on the input whatever we have, okay, yeah, based on the input which we provide, okay, so we are going to do certain thing, right? So that means, like, let's say our project has a certain components, like I'm having front end component, different microservices, right? So you have a front end component, you have a catalog, you have cart, like this. You're having different components. So those particular components, so I need to create a script in such a way that, so the script now needs to follow certain order. So it should be following, so coming with this, deciding, so something, so based on this it has to do something like this, based on that it decides something, based on this decide something and do that. Okay, so some decision should be happening. All right, so that's where, so that decision should be done through some conditions. Okay, so who decides? Okay, so who decides here? Actually, something is this, something is that, or something like that. Okay, so who decides that is who decides that is okay, so some condition. Okay, you make some condition, and with that particular condition, um, um, okay, it decides where to go, basically. Okay, so that's where yesterday we were trying to talk about the multiple scenarios of our approach. So now I need to make my script work with one single script. Okay, I need to make it work with all the components, but all the components should not be installed at the same time. So I will give the input. Okay, I will give the input of what I want, and the input should be taken, and it should be working. So that's where, so coming to the input, so inputs we talked about, there are two types of inputs. So one, you take it during the execution. So during you execute the script and it starts executing it, in between it asks for you the input, you provide the input. And whereas before execution, okay, so before execution, also you can also say that after executing this one. So before executing itself, you can provide the input. Okay, so these are the two things. So this is, you can do it with the read command I mentioned. So this one we have done with some special variables. So with some special variables, we're actually taking the input. So that means you are going to provide a script and you provide your input. Okay, so we provide this particular input, and this particular input will be loaded into your script using your special variables, right? So that's what we talked about that. And so yeah, we take the input, and after taking the input we need to decide. Okay, the decision came through the case command. Okay, the case command, you're going to have the variable in, you're going to have pattern one, and you're going to give some commands. Once you're done with your pattern, you have to give double semicolon. You'll be going with pattern two, and you'll be giving bunch of commands, double semicolon you'll be giving. And so finally, once you're done with all your patterns, you're going to give something called as reverse of case. The reverse of case is nothing but ESAC. Okay, ESAC, it's a reverse word of case. And yeah, so this is what we have so this is what we have discussed in yesterday's session. And also, like this decision, basically whatever we're talking about, the input decision, so we want to take with the tool help rather than I make the logic. Okay, I want to take a help of a tool. and using that particular tool I want to take it. Okay, so what is the tool I talked about? Makefile. Okay, using the Makefile, we can say that, so this is what the approach I mentioned, right? So using the, either you write your script, you give the input, you take the input and use the case command and do that, or else you create an individual scripts. Okay, and you can use some Makefile and just give the input, it just calls that particular script. Okay, so this way you can just go with a you make your code dry. So that means you don't really you don't need to really so I mean to say, like, so keep everything in one script. You can cut into pieces, so that which piece, however you want, you can just use that particular piece. If you use everything in a one whole script, so one whole script execution takes time. Okay, so one whole application, so debugging is a problem, and making is a problem. So the development people are actually going into microservices, right? So they're making small pieces now. Even as a, even that's a code standards. Basically, it's all coming into a standardization of the code, right? So always try to keep the code dry. That's what we mentioned, right? So dry is something and wet is something yesterday we talked about. Always try to keep your code dry. Okay, so that means don't repeat yourself, don't try to repeat. Okay, so that's the idea. So that's where we are actually combining these two options, and we're going to go with make, and we're going to go with pulling the scripts accordingly. And now we are going to start the scripting. So starting with one by one component. All right, so yeah, so any questions before starting? All right, so let me open the editor. So this is the RoboShop project. Okay, with all with the components whatever we have discussed so far in the scripting, like, how do you print, how do you declare the variables, how do you take the input from the user. So using these particular fundamental concepts, we start building the things. Okay, and we'll find out some issues, and those particular issues will be addressed through the different remaining topics in the shell scripting. We'll talk that particular topic and we'll come back to and apply to the project. Okay, so that's where we're going to proceed now. Now let's start with so Makefile. This Makefile is already there, and make space front end, it is going to call the component script inside that. There's a front end.sh, and this is a front end.sh. Okay, so yeah, let's go and try to do that. Now whenever you are actually trying to print some message, like, I want to kind of think through like how my output should look like. So I should have some vision. Okay, basically how my output should look like. Okay, so here how my output should look like. Let's say you take so I will just say Terraform. So there are different tools you have, right? So tools, Terraform. If I take Terraform and if I take you to the images, basically, so Terraform will provide the input when it is running. Terraform, like let's say apply if I give. So Terraform usually give the output in this format. Okay, so just if you take a look here, this some output. So Terraform actually tells you some output like this. Okay, so some resource name, still creating, some time elapsed. Okay, so something like this. So this is one way. Okay, probably if I think about, so how much time it is taking and things like that. So probably I can, okay, so provide this particular, or I need to think through this is the way I want. Then I have to keep something in such a way that should be keeping in such a way that so I mean to say, like, so I need to start making the things accordingly. So if I am thinking that this is how my output look like, then I have to make the things accordingly, right? So that's one thing. So even in the echo command, I was explaining you something, right? So when you try to print something, a letter or something like that, okay, so welcomes to today's session. So I'm visualizing that, so I require the content in this particular format. Like, let's say if you just give this, you can see this is the format. So just to visualize this particular one, I'm just using this slash and slash t's in between, right? So that's how the same way now even I have to visualize this how I want, and I will be getting that. Like, let's say Maven, okay, so mvn package, something like that. If mvn package if you give, so generally the command should be looking like this. So okay, it looks like this. It just provide info, error, okay, warning, something like that. They will provide. If I'm thinking that this is the way I want, I should be making this way. Okay, this is the this is how I want to make it. All right, and so probably, yeah, so something like that. So and so we need to visualize how I want, and based on that I will be making it accordingly. So if I want to make the same, so this is also a Maven format, info, warning, okay. If I want to have some in this format, so yes, I should be making it accordingly. So what we want, we should think through. Okay, so we also now going to print some messages, because I want to print some messages. I don't like it very plain. Or let me bring my previous project one. So how does it actually? So let me show you that previous project, in the sense previous batch related things. So how did I do? So let's try to take a look on that. So first thing first, so I'll go to one batch before. So here, if I go there, do ls, so cd sh roboshop, one single script I take it. Okay, so and invalid input. So like so it's as a front end. This is the approach I took it there. Okay, so installing Nginx. So last time also I have shown certain information to the students. They decided, I mean, kind of, so let's go with this way. I mean, or I think, I don't remember whether I asked or not. Okay, but usually I ask actually. Okay, so when we ask actually, so so it's generally like, so what are the people say, let's go with this, and we usually go with that. So this is one approach. So I'm saying that, so the information and what is its status. If it's a failure, I'll print it in red color. If it's a success, I'm printing in success. Okay, so this is what one batch previously. Okay, so and then I'll go to one batch even more before. So I will just say 51, and I'll go to the repos, go to the shell scripting. Let's try this one now. So just to give you some context, okay, so what are the different ways we can make it? Okay, so shell scripting, and here sh roboshop.sh, and here also I'm using yeah, as I mentioned last time itself. So I usually try to impose the make during the Terraform. Okay, I usually don't bring it in the very starting. So now you see this, like, so there we went as this way. So installing Nginx, I'm giving some output also, we are actually taking care. So and after that I'm printing success, after that I'm printing message and output. If any print, I'll print output and success, and extracting, if any output, I'll print the output. Okay, after that it is a success or a failure, we'll do this way. Okay, so this is another approach. Okay, I don't know what is prior to that, even what I made it. Okay, let's take a look. And I would like to go with one more batch before, and I want to see so what I did in that particular batch. Okay, so we have to visualize. So what we are looking for, so we just need to make it accordingly. Okay, I want this way, so that way you're going to keep your code. That's so cd shell scripts ls. So sh project does it. I'll just name it as project.sh, and the front end. So front end. So I think here again I went with some success, failure, something like this, right? So now you tell me, okay, whether you want to make it in a Terraform way, okay, so make it quite simple, or you want to make it, in a some Maven format, all right? So or you want some Docker Compose, Docker Compose. Also, you have Docker output basically. Docker also gives some. I think most of mine is basically related to Docker Compose output only. I mean to say, like, the starting, it will tell you what all the services it started. Where is this? Where is this? Where is this? 1 second. Okay, so usually you'll get, like this. Docker Compose, when you actually give some action, you will get done like this. I'm giving success, success, success. That's it, nothing more than that. Okay, so I'm mostly following that kind of approach. And now you can tell me, like, so let's go to the voting. So you tell me that, so which way you want to make it. So you have seen Terraform, so this is the Terraform output. So Terraform apply you have seen. Okay, so this is a plain output you are seeing. Okay, or even in fact this not apply output status. Let me put it as apply. So apply goes in a very plain text. So what resource it is creating, it will show you that. So something like this. So it just shows you like this. This is the something creation complete, something like this. You want to go this way, or you want to go with a Maven approach. Okay, let me go with .com and MVN package, and let me just. So when you run the Maven command, so you usually get info and something like that, error and something like that. You want to go with this way, or you see the Docker Compose you have seen, and even here in my shell script, I have shown you some other approach showing the output also on the screen, right? Whether you want to go with this approach, or if you have anything in your mind also, just tell. Let's decide. Okay, so how we want to go. So based on your voting, so probably we'll pick it up. Okay, so you can put it on chat, or you can just say, or would better put it in chat, everyone. Okay, what is your preference, whether it is Maven, or whether it is Maven or Terraform or Docker Compose. So yeah, so you can take it up, these three things, or if you have anything in mind. So yeah, please. Docker is fine, Docker simple output is fine, the one
Maven.
with the details. Okay, so as of now, 4 Dockers and 1 with the details, 1 with Maven, Docker. Yeah, everyone, please. Docker. Most I'm seeing Docker. So don't think that Docker as a super tech. Docker is a buzzing word in the world, in the market. Okay, so don't think that Docker basically. Docker gives you very plain output. It doesn't give you much detail. Whether it is success or failure, that's it. What you're going to get. And most of the time, that the information is fine. Is fine basically, right? So you can just go and okay, you can just go and customize as per your need, of course. And so I see 1 Terraform also came in. 1 Terraform, 1 Maven, 1 with more details, and at least more than 15 people saying it is Docker. Okay, so what we do is, like, let's say is little bit. Okay, so we will just try to, can we mix the things also? Okay, so I'm just thinking, so how my output look like, right? So how my output look like, I'm just thinking. So I will provide something like this. Okay, so how Docker is looking like, you will just say that, so installing installing Nginx, I will say, and I will say it is done. Okay, so something like that. Okay, or basically, so probably if it is an error, so if it, I'll go and give -error. So this is something that this Docker is doing very on the output side. Now, if you want to merge this particular so okay, so what we wanted to do here is we wanted to so convert this into a Terraform. So then how does it look like? Is a Terraform look like this? So installing .terraform, you will sorry, installing .nginx. What you're installing Nginx. So so create so not create, actually, like let's say you say that so start time. So probably so how the Terraform actual output is looking like. Terraform apply, if I see, so it actually saying that it is creating. Okay, so and creation complete after these many seconds, right? So some kind of that approach. Okay, so now you can say that so you will say installing. Okay, and after that so the same line, it is going to say that installation complete after installation complete after so these many seconds. So that means I need to calculate certain time, like how much time it actually taking it up, and then I have to put that particular time. Okay, so this is the only time is what actually Terraform is actually trying to show. Okay, so that is another thing. Okay, this is Terraform way. Now I'll go with Maven. So Maven, I will say that so probably info, and actually I'll say that installing Nginx, and probably I will say success. Okay, in green color or something like that. Installation installation is successful. Okay, so something like that. Okay, so or it is a failure, so that means it's actually a fail, and so installation failure, something like this. Okay, this is what you do that. Now you tell me. Okay, now you have some understanding. Okay, previously output was something like that. Okay, so now you tell me. Okay, again, once again, and now again, once again. So tell that which one you want to go with. Okay, whether you want to go with the Docker one, Terraform one, or Maven one. Now let's once again. Now decide.
Yeah. Hey Raghu, in the first one, in the Docker one, if there is an error, it will spit out the error.
Yeah.
So install. Okay. Right.
Yeah. 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 Now tell once again. Now think through what you're looking, what you're feeling. So one Maven, now Docker. Okay. One Maven, one Docker.
Maven.
Two Mavens. Three Maven. 4, 5, 6 Mavens.
Even
Okay.
in Maven, in the failure in the last scenario, it will show the fail.
Here it is a fail.
Okay, and the reason of the failure.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah. So anything is okay. So here only the Terraform side, you just make yourself complex. So that means how much time it is actually taking. I don't think so time is really matter there, but still, if time is a concern for you to understand that you want to, okay, so put the timing also for each and everything what you are performing, then you probably think through that approach. Otherwise, I don't think so Terraform is needed. But yeah, so however it is, if you think through that is needed, then we can go with that. At least now I don't see one Terraform also. So a lot of Mavens only, couple of Dockers. Okay, so this is a bit plain. We can do that. So, but here this is quite fancy also. Okay, in the same line, if it is successful, first I have to print installing Nginx, and if it is successful, I have to replace the whole line with done, or I want the whole line replaced with error. There's also some work involved. Okay, but it's not a big deal. It's not some work involved, but it's not a big deal. Okay, and it's a very simple one. Out of all these, very simple one is Maven only. Okay, and which is more user information even. Okay, gives you a nice information that what is going on. Okay, probably we can pick it up. So as I see Maven got more words now. Okay, Maven output. We're not going to use Maven tool. Maven output approach. That's it. Pretty simple to say. Okay. All right. Clear? Is everyone okay with Maven? Or you want to add some more kind of masala to that more? Anyone think about any more information you think on the output line will help you? Anything you think through? Just put your ideas. That's it. Nothing wrong. We'll just talk about that. What is your idea even?
So that same Jenkins output also look like the same Maven output, right?
Mostly is related to same. Yeah.
Yeah, because so that we can see everything. So what's happening? So
Yeah. So if you see the Jenkins console output also, it's Jenkins console output does nothing basically. What are the command output is coming? Actually, it will put you on the screen. So here they are running Maven and the Maven command output only you'll be seeing. So I don't think so. Jenkins is really needed here. Yeah, that kind of Jenkins doesn't do nothing there. So whatever the commands you put it in there, and so you put some Terraform commands, it provides the Terraform output. You put Maven commands, you provide Maven output. That's it. Yeah. So now anyone think about any enhancements to this? Like you feel that this all should be there according to along with this, or is this okay?
by your experience, you can suggest something.
Oh, that's okay. Like it has to be coming up from you also, right? So, I mean, you also start visualizing the things. Okay, so because
Yeah.
you probably might be best than me. Okay, in the terms of visualization, right? So this might be bad. I mean, this might look little, so lousy probably. So there might be a best approach even. So like it's all about user experience. User experience is a quite important thing as well. Okay, so otherwise you see this a lot of applications are there. Why do you love so Gmail, even though you have Yahoo Mail, you have Reddit Mail or some other Microsoft even. So a lot of people actually there with Gmail. So why basically before to Gmail even there was a Yahoo Mail, there was a Reddit Mail, at least I know there was an MSN. Now all these three were major players before Gmail. Okay, but why Gmail came into picture, right? So it's UX is a kind of a different job role actually, but still UX is a very important user experience. Okay, is a very important thing. So when you're actually printing something, so the user should know everything what he's seeing, right? So you think that particular point of view also, like anything. I see something like component name. Exactly. So like let's say you are giving so which component you are installing, so that output is really good actually. Yeah, that's true. So now I'm going to give front end. So what component I'm going to install? Like let's say I'm going to put front end. Exactly. Okay, this helps you a lot actually. Front end. Anything else? So some people like some timestamp also. You put some timestamp at what time it ran. Okay, some cross verification will help you. Okay, timestamp. Okay, so timestamp. You think about timestamp and you get the timestamp. Okay, so this also is good. I mean, just from my experience, I'm saying this. Timestamp is really good. So like let's say if you want to just cross compare, so sometimes if issue happens, at what time issue happened, while doing the installation, at what time the issue happened. Sometimes timing will help you. Okay, that having the timing on the output is also really good thing. Okay, so anything else?
Who ran the script or something? Maybe name.
Yeah, who ran the script? So ultimately, who ran the script is you use sudo in the backend. So sudo will take care in the backend. So you might really not need it here. If you want, of course, you can add it. Yeah.
While failure, we can see at what line we got failed, something like that in the fail section, right?
Yeah. So
Okay.
that information we will print it after this particular one. So hey, look for this log file for complete error. Okay, kind of thing. We'll just print it and the file name, so that the user will look into that particular log file. Yeah. So we'll do that. I think fine. There is no point in I mean to select so you just got the you just got the idea, right? So what you need to do, you got an idea. Okay, So based on your requirements, you can impose, you can just try to impose your ideas. That's fine. But just as of now, you just need to visualize how you want your output look like. Okay. And based on that, you have to design that first of all, and you should follow the same thing across your script. Now, okay, so we just decided to go with this particular approach. Now we need to start doing the things. Okay, so yeah, let's start with the things. Now, yeah, now the complexity comes here. So front end. So now here previously you're giving installing front end. Okay, so installing front end is something you have done. Installing front end component, I'll say. And so what all the information you have to give? It's actually an info. I'll say info. And actually you're going to have, this is a front end component. Okay, and actually I'm going to go with timestamp, right? So actually you're going to go with some date command. So date command, you can go with epoch. So there is a standard thing called as epoch. Okay, so epoch time will be there. So epoch time will be there. So it's a timestamp converter basically. So either you can give it in a human readable format, or you can generate in a epoch format. It's up to you. Okay, so that means the date timestamp. So from the date command, so you see the date command on the machine. So the date command is this. Okay, it is giving you this output. So I don't like this particular output. So I'll say that date plus %f. So you get the date and space percentile, so timestamp percentile t, percentile. If I need to use some space, then I have to use it in double quotes, I think. Yeah. So you have to, okay, go with that particular format. So this format is fine, okay, on this one. Or so date -- help, it can help you in epoch time also. Epoch is only easy for calculating. I mean, easy for any program to calculate. That's the only thing. But here, actually, a user is actually referring, and that's where I think normal timestamp is also fine. Okay, so epoch also somewhere you'll find out how to print the epoch output, but that's okay. So I can just go with this format. Okay, so that means I will go with this. Okay, installing front end component. Now let's go and see that how it's actually going to be here. So ls, so now go back to the normal user. So cd shell scripting, so git space pull and a cd RoboShop project and make space front end. This is what you're getting. Now let's say I want to get it in colors. Okay, attraction, user attraction is a quite important thing for me. Okay, so then that's where the things comes into picture now. I can use single quotes also here. Okay, so yeah, the info I want to print it in one color. So probably I would like to say that info word -e/ the colors, right? So probably which color I want to: red, green, yellow, blue, magenta, and cyan. Okay, so I'll go with some 36 cyan. Okay, or I think 31, 32, 33, 34 is also fine. 1 semicolon 34 yum. So which is a blue color in a bold text. So /e and open the square and 0 yum. Okay, so this is the first thing. So probably /e open the square bracket 1 semicolon 35 yum. Okay, so /e open the square bracket and 0 yum. And /e open the square bracket and 1 semicolon 36 yum and /e open the square bracket of 0 yum. Okay, so this is what I'm getting on the output screen. Okay, and finally this text is on normal color. Okay, like this. Installing front end, and these are the colors. Okay, cool. And this info, if it is actually an error, it should be printing in red color. And if some warnings, or so sometimes you want to print some success, you're saying installing front-end front-end component, like let's say you will so go with now there's a lot of complexity coming, right? You see this now. I have to go with so like let's say installing a front-end component. Inside that, the first one is actually going to be installing Nginx. Okay, so rather than installing, I'll say set up front-end component, so the whole makes more sense. Installing Nginx, and so here it is info and this front end and everything is fine. It's actually installing Nginx. Now, if based on if it is success or a failure, so I had to print 32m, and it's actually going to be so success, and and then install Nginx. Okay, like this it's going to be. Or if it is an error, okay, if it is an error, so then it's actually going to be 31m. It's actually going to be a failure. Okay, installed Nginx is a failure. So you see this is how you look like. Oh, this is the thing it should be looking like. The fail, success, like this, you're going to get it. All right, fine. Now every line you put that particular colors, actually, don't you think it's actually becoming a pain? Every line actually you're putting this one is actually becoming a pain. Okay, and I don't want to do that. Okay, so I want to simplify my life. And you're not actually making your code dry. This is a wet code. You're repeating everything. Code versus red. Okay, so sorry, wet versus dry code. Okay, so dry means don't repeat yourself, but are you doing that? No, you're actually repeating everything. Okay, wet means write every time, so we don't actually do this. Okay, right? So that means how do I make my life easy here? Okay, so and the same standard is actually not only for front end, it actually standard for every component, in fact. Okay, now how do you do that? Okay, so let's try to take care of this with bit of functions. Now, first thing, I had to first avoid this duplication. Okay, and the second thing, I'll enhance this to multi-scripts as well. First of all, the single script only, but again I'll enhance this to multi-script. So now in this particular script, if I want to reduce my burden, so what I wanted to do is I just wanted to go and say here, which is by using some functions. Okay, I want to talk about some functions here. So there is a concept called as a function, and we're going to talk about a function. First, let's try to understand what is a function. Okay, so what function does, so what is a variable does? Assign a name to data is variable, right? You're assigning a name to a data is variable, and the same way assign a name to so commands, a group of commands to group of commands is called as function. Okay, in my own words, might not be the actual derivation or whatever it is. So yeah, assign a name to a group of commands, it's generally called as a function. Okay, now how do I declare a function? Declare a function. Declare a function. Okay, how do you declare a function? It should be declaring like, so you just write function word, and like let's say sample is a function, and open the square bracket and this one. And so here I'm going to say that echo hello from sample function. Okay, that's it. Echo command just for understanding. So this is one way. Okay, so this is way one. It is the one way you declare a function, and there's another way also to declare the function. So which is just go with sample one and open the braces and just do that, and you'll say that echo so hello from sample one function. Okay, so this is how either you write it with a keyword called as function, and you don't really need to do that. And function names are function name standards are as same as variables in bash shell. In bash shell, okay, so those naming standards are same. So what is the naming standards of a variable? It should not start with any number. At the same time, you should not have any special characters. You should use only normal characters with underscore, right? So that's the only thing. So the same way here also, function names also follow the same standard. Okay, so and also the same approach, like so coming from different backgrounds, some people might think everything in capital characters. Some people might use some people might use camel cases also, right? We talked about what is a camel case and how to use it. So people coming from different background think in a different way, all right? So yeah, so different ways of doing it. Okay, so I'm mostly from Linux background, so I always try to go with the capital letters. Okay, so yeah, mostly that's my preference. I mean, and also sometimes I try to use camel cases also. So yeah, whatever it is, okay, it's a decision of the author. So you write the script, it's your choice whether you want to go with all caps, whether you want to go with camel cases or something else, or small characters or something of your choice. Right, now how do you call a function? So you declare the function. How do you call the function? Call a function. Okay, so call a function. So call a function is actually going to be a sample and sample1. So two functions you have, you're calling those particular functions. That's it. And okay, sh08 functions.sh. Now you see this hello from sample function actually coming from the function, but you're actually using it as a command like this. Okay, so no dollar or something like that, like variables, just give it as a command and it just works. Okay, so that's actually a function. So certain things are there in the function. So what all the certain things is you declare variable in function. Okay, so you declare a variable in a main program. So this is a call a function in main program. So this I can call it as a main program. So you declare a variable in main program. You can access in function, and vice versa even, and vice versa. Okay, and the next one is okay, so you remember the properties of a variable, read write, right? There's a read write properties. You declare a variable in main program, and you can override variable in function, and again vice versa. Vice versa means you declare in function, you can override in the main program as well. Okay, so this is about the variables basically. Okay, you have a variables in the main program, and you can access in the main function, in the function you declare, you can access in the main program. So simply you keep it, so a is equal to 10 here, you just give echo $a, it works here. That's it. Okay, and you just declare b is equal to 20 here, and you just go to any function, doesn't really matter. So echo $b, you'll get that. Okay, that's it, as simple as that. Okay, just to understand. Okay, so this is how you can deal with the functions. Let's take a look on this. So now you see this b equal to 20, you're getting that b is actually declared in the main program, but you're actually able to access in the function. Now a equal to 10 is been declared on function, and on the main program you can access it, and even the override is also possible. Okay, override is also possible. That's the idea of variables in functions. Clear? Any questions? The next thing is inputs to the functions. Inputs to the functions. You can inputs to the functions using special variables again. So special variables also can be used for functions also. So that means sample2 10 and 20, 10 space 20. So in the sample2 function, sample2 function, so echo first argument equal to $1 and echo second argument is equal to $2. Okay. Now you see this first argument equal to 10, second argument equal to 20. All right. The arguments can be passed to the function, and $1, $2, $star, $@ $hash. All these are available for function also if you send it to the function. Okay. So that's how. Okay. So we are going to use functions now and apply that particular function knowledge to the front end of whatever we're doing here. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do like, I want to print an error. I want to print a message. Okay, so info message I want to make it. Okay, so info is a function. All right, and info is a function I want to make it. So I want to print the information line. So that means all these things is actually going to cut it to info. All this information is being cut to info. Okay, now this one I'm going to give info, and in double quotes you're going to provide the input. Why I'm using double quotes? Because it's all is a single input actually. It's all is a single input. So but you have spaces in between them. So if you have some spaces in between them, then what is the problem? Your shell will understand this as the first input, first one, $1, this as $2, and this as $3. Okay, for an example in the functions, like let's say if I give 10 and 20 in double quotes, so then what is the behavior? $1 is nothing but 10 and 20, because you are having that space and you are actually bounding the space with the help of some quotes, and that's where actually going to come as first argument itself is 10 and 20. Okay, so just to bound that particular, so save that particular space as a first on the argument itself, then I'll go with the quotes. Okay, sooner we'll see the quotes concept, you'll understand that, but yeah, it's a one. So I have double quotes I'm using, and here this is the whole one is a $1, right? So that means, and you're going to give space $1. That's it. That's info function. Okay, and so like let's say there is a success function. So success is basically, it's actually going to replace this word. That's it, right? So and success, and the next one is like let's say this is also information, this also let's go as info, and so the next one is fail message. So fail, I'm taking it as one function, and I'm going to take this red color there and $1, and I'll say fail, and I do this. Yeah, so now how simple this statement become like, right? So all the complexity went to the function, and so every time you do that you get the same output. Now let's go and see cd shop project and git space full. So make space front end. Now you get the same output, you are getting the same output. Okay, but actually what's gonna happening, you're getting the same output, and but so we are doing with the functions, Now what is another thing? So the same standards I want to use across my other so the same things I want to use across my other scripts also. That means like Mongo or even other things, I want to use the same standard. So then what I'm going to do is I even cut this from here. I don't want it from here, and I'm going to create one script like called as so common or something like that, common.sh, and I will say I'll just put these particular things. Okay, and in the front end, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to load these functions. How do I load is there is a command called as source. So source common.sh is the one I'm going to do. So source common.sh is what I'm going to do. So source common.sh is having these particular functions, and it just loads those particular functions. So it has all the scripts. I mean, you can have all the variables, functions, and whatever you have here. Those will be executed and it will be loaded into your script. Okay, so that's where the source command will help you. Or source or dot command also. Both are same. Source, or you might see as a dot also. Anything is okay. So source is more meaningful, so that's where I use source common.sh. Now what's gonna happen? Now you extended the support of the same functions to even to the other scripts also. Okay, now let's go and give git space pull make front end. Now you're actually getting another common.sh. Okay, why you're getting common.sh? Because you're actually inside this location, RoboShop project. But common.sh is actually in components directory. So that means I have to give component slash common.sh. So you see this, it's working fine once again. Okay, and the same thing can be extended to Mongo also now, right? So Mongo also I do the same thing. Mongo also I will do the same thing and set up so DB component. Okay, so now if I say Mongo as an input, so Mongo as an input, okay, so you're going to get still front end. What you're supposed to get, you extended it, that's fine. Okay, so now Mongo also with a very minimal effort, actually you're able to still get the same output, right? Whatever you're thinking. But what is the problem happening here? This front end. So then what you think through, so you need to customize this particular one. So this is also some variable. So I will take this particular variable as dollar component. Okay, and before calling this particular source.sh, I'm going to give component is equal to front end. Okay, so here component is equal to Mongo. So you're getting Mongo. You run Mongo, you're getting Mongo. You run for front end. So it is running front end. So makes your life easy. So now what you have done is using the functions, you reduce the burden of keeping the code wet. Okay, so and you just made it very dry, and even actually we extended that particular support to multiple scripts as well. So now my effort will stay in one place only, and if I change in one place, everything is going to change. So tomorrow if I want to change this front end color to something else, I change it in one place, every place it will be modified, right? So that's how I just designed it. Clear? Any questions on the approach or technical questions? Any questions on this so far? Any confusion?
Raghu Venkatesh here.
Yeah, man.
So is there any chance of can we stop the overriding? So because it fixed with any function, that variable. I don't want to override the calling function or calling it. Anything possible? Possibility of any overriding.
Yeah, variable override you're saying. Yeah, yesterday I told you an option, right? So yeah, you just give a is equal to 10 and a is equal to 20 view, it works fine. It's overriding. So what I told you yesterday, read only, right? Read only, and you give a, now you try to give a equal to 30, it will not override. It's still saying that it's a read only way. Yeah, anyone, any other questions? Yeah,
And we use source as a command to refresh the configuration files also, right?
sorry, come again.
We use source as a command to refresh the configuration files in /etc directories.
No, source is a command. So to load what all the functions and variables given in that particular file will load into your script. Yeah. So the example you are referring might be, it is sourcing a file which is in etc. It doesn't
Yes.
really need to be on etc. It is a file having the functions, and I'm just sourcing them. Okay. So making my life easy. So everywhere I'll just source with a one single command. All the functions, whatever I want to keep it very common, I'll keep it in common and I'll source them. That's it. And system is also doing the same thing. So just to keep the code dry. Yeah. OS developers also doing the same work.
Thank you.
I mean, there won't be any concept like local variable, global variable here, right?
So you have, right? Yesterday we talked about that again. So we used export command. Okay, I shown you like what export is doing exactly. Yeah, so that's the concept of local and global variables. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone? Any other questions? All right. So the next one, which we're going to talk here is, let's start doing the work basically. I mean, so the basic framework is ready for printing the message, right? Now you start doing the things basically. All right. So now, yeah. Now the next thing is, I'm going to install Nginx. Okay. So how do I install Nginx? So I would be going with yum install nginx and then -y. Okay. So this is how I'm going to get it. Now I'll just go here and try to do a git pull and make front end. So now what is the error I'm getting? So it's not working actually, you see. So you just do this one and is actually telling that, so you should be, your actually command is a failure. And make is also throwing the same error, your front end didn't work. Okay, now what is the error basically? You should be a root user to perform this command, of course. So while I'm installing something, so all commands should be run as a root user. Okay, but okay, so but how do my script actually, or my script should validate whether I'm a root user or not non-root user. My script responsibility is to check that, okay, whether my script is being run as a normal user or whether my script is run as a root user. Okay, it should do the minimum base health checks kind of, or basically minimum checks. Okay, so before actually doing the actual work, it is supposed to check the minimum things. Okay, so how do you validate whether you are a root user or a normal user? Okay, so how do we do that? So that's that particular piece we're going to talk now. Okay, so now we have to validate whether you are a normal user or a root user. And if you are a root user, okay, so if you're a root user, then only I want to proceed. If you're a non-root user, I want to say that, hey boss, you're supposed to be a root user. I cannot allow you. Basically, you're a non-root user. I cannot allow you. So that information I need to specify now. So how do I specify that particular information? Okay, let's take a look on that. All right, so let's see. Okay, so how do I do that is, so first of all I need to identify how to identify that, say scripting is nothing basically. Scripting is always you frame the things, but frames comes from frame comes from the manual knowledge basically, right? So that comes from your core concept basically, right? So that means if I want to decide that whether I'm a root user or not, so scripting cannot help you. It only helps you decide. Okay, so but for making the decision, you should know some inputs, right? That inputs you always should know. That means the manual knowledge, the solid manual knowledge is fine. And so that's the 90% effort, and the scripting is always the less than 10% effort, I would say, in my way. Okay, so when you know the things, now how to automate is not a complex thing at all. Okay, when you don't know the things, then only scripting looks like complex. Okay, so yeah, all the time I would suggest is you should solidly know, okay, so that you know what you need to do. All right, and how to do that is always very simple. Okay, now I should know that, you know, whether I'm a root user or not. Okay, how do you do that? So you already know that there is something called as to identify the user information, there is an ID command we discussed, right? So ID is going to show you my current ID which I logged in. Now if I just go and give sudo su hyphen, and if I give ID, so it becomes as a root user. So now I want to catch this. So if it is a root user, so then it comes as a root, right? So that means ID space, I'll go with ID hyphen help. Is there any options with the ID? So ID hyphen R. So then ID hyphen R something is there. So ID hyphen R is not giving any option. Okay, print ID instead of the effective ID. No, that's not really coming anything. Print only names or real IDs in default format. That's okay. Like let's say ID hyphen A, ignore the compatibility with other versions. I don't know, it's coming up. And ID hyphen G groups N, ID hyphen N. Okay, ID hyphen N. I'm not getting anything. So, but again, hyphen user is there, hyphen U. ID hyphen U is giving you some information. You see this. Now, if the same ID hyphen U, if you go with sudo ID hyphen U, you are getting 0. So that means, you know that every user will have a user ID, right? So the root user also should have a user ID, and his user ID is always 0. If the user ID is 0, that means that guy is a root user. That means, yeah, that's standard basically. No one modifies that. And if you modify that, the system will not work. Okay. So now I want to catch this particular one. Okay. So, and based on that, I do that. So if I just execute this particular script as a normal user, I'll get anything other than 0. And if I get okay, so if I get 0, that means I'm a root user. So I want to catch this and do this. How to do that? Now again, in my make file, I want to go with something called as a common. Common is a kind of common things which we want to do. So common is a function, okay, so which I would like to do. And so here I am going to go for sh and components / common.sh. So I want to execute this particular script. Now, whenever the front end is actually doing this, so it has to execute a common also. So I'm marking a dependency now. So this common I'm giving, so common is marked as a dependency now. So that means what all the scripts I have mentioned in common, it executes first. So why I need this? So because every component need to verify whether I'm a root user or not. I don't want to duplicate my effort. So that's where I'll just come here and say that, you know, I'm going to say that, you know, so verify user is root or not. User is root or not. So how do you verify? So now you're going to have ID. Okay, so our user underscore ID is equal to ID space hyphen U. Okay, now case, you are going to validate it now. So user underscore ID in, if it is equal to 0, no problem. Okay, so 0 means no problem. You don't need to really do anything at all. Okay, but whereas if it is equal to anything else, so that means star, anything other than 0, I don't want to proceed. So you can go for star. So the star also will help you. If user ID equal to 0, okay, then you need to do anything. If user ID is not equal to 0, so then I want to say that, hey, so echo. So then what I want to message here is hyphen e1, /e1 31m in red color. I'm printing it up. You should be a root user to perform this script / you open the square bracket and 0m. Okay, if it is actually zero, what I need to do? I don't want to do anything at all, right? So this is a tricky situation, but my case command expects minimum one command there. Minimum expects one command there, but what command I should use? So, and it should not harm anything, it should not act anything. Okay, it has to be some dummy command. So what can I use? So there is a dummy command available called as true. There is a command, okay, so which can help you. There's a true command, there's a colon command, both are same, does nothing, does really nothing, but it's a command. Okay, but it's a command. So I just want to use some true. Okay, so just to say that nothing to perform. So we choose an true. All right, so this is how you can do the things. Now what I'm saying to my make file, so common is a dependency. If I say make space frontend or make space Mongo, my common is my common is a dependency. Okay, so now like let's say go for make space common, or no, make space frontend, but equal. So I do the front ends only, front end spelling wrong, front end. Now you see this, you should be a root user to perform this command. And there is, I used a statement called as exit one. You don't know that, I'll come to that. I use something called as exit one. What is that? You'll see that. But for now, you understood the concept. Okay, so you should be a root user to perform this script. And yeah, so if I want to do that, so then what I have to do, I have to go with sudo. Okay, so I have to execute the script as sudo make front end, so that error will not go. Okay, and that error will not come, and actually it is trying to install Nginx. Okay, it's actually trying to install Nginx, and this is the output basically. Now after this particular one is actually installed, you have to print whether it is successful or a failure, right? But how do you do that? How do you do that? Whether this is successful, this went successful, or this went failure? How do you know that? We should know that, right? So yeah, how do you do that? So that's where the next concept comes into picture. So which is codes, redirectors, and exit status. We're going to talk about that. Before to that, any questions? Okay. All right. So the next thing is going to be is and the next thing is going to be is and the next thing is going to be is the topics of codes. Okay, why do you require codes, and what is the redirectors here, and what is the exit status here? Okay, let's try to talk. Let me complete those three things, then you will start embedding that particular knowledge into this particular script. So what is this codes? Okay, what happens without a code? Okay, so you don't have a code, then what happens? Like let's say if I just go and give echo a star. What is star? Star is it's a character, right? It's a character. And what echo does, whatever the input I give, it just prints on the screen. Now that means what is my input? Anticic. That means there's a technical word for this. Anticic or star, you can call it whatever it is. So anticic or star, I am actually giving this input and it is supposed to be printed on the screen. That means what I'm expecting, a star character. Okay, but I hit enter, you get something else. Whatever it is, doesn't really matter. You're getting something else. So it's actually not, it's not actually working as expected. It is doing something. Okay, yes, okay, it does something. Okay, because it's a special character. Okay, it has a speciality. Okay, and it is trying to do its job. It is trying to do its job. Whatever the job, we don't want to bother about that. But now my problem is I want to print star character only. I want to print, my requirement is to print star character, but star is actually having some speciality. It's actually behaving on its own, but it's not printing my star. Okay, so that is where I need to think about if I have any special characters in the inputs to the commands whichever we provide, we always go with the codes. Like previously we have given so like info to the function, we are actually giving the code to avoid the speciality of a special character, which is a space, which is a space. Okay, So space is a special character, and to avoid speciality, we just used okay. So space is a specialty. We just okay. So we just used a double quote there. Okay. So here also now the star is a special character to avoid this particular speciality. So then what you should be using is some quotes. Either use single quote, and whether you either use double quotes doesn't really matter. Okay, both does the same job, but there is some difference. But there is a slight difference. What is the difference? Now let's say a is equal to 10, and if I just go and give echo in double quotes a is equal to $a, you get a equal to whatever it is, 10 or 20. Okay, you get some 20. Okay, that's fine. But in the same input, if I give it in single quotes, so you're getting a equal to $a. Then what is the advantage between double quotes, or what is the difference between double quotes and single quotes? Double quotes can help you. Double quotes can help you in accessing some variables, but whereas the single quotes will not allow any of the special character. At least double quotes will allow you a dollar character. So that's where you are free to use some variables in the quotes as well. So that's where I always try to use double quotes rather than single quotes. Okay, if you know what you're doing, that's fine. You can always go with single quotes as well. If you don't want to print anything on the, or you don't want to access any variables or no special characters at all, then you go with the single quotes. Otherwise double quotes is more than fine. Okay, but sometimes, like let's say I mean without quotes can't you do that? Yes, you can do that. Without quotes, what you can do, so echo star you're giving, so I can go with escape character. So the backslash is called as escape character. Now using escape character, and I can do that without quotes also, it's possible, but there are 10 special characters. I have to go with the 10 escapes. Okay, so rather than that, so I mean you use quotes, that's it, right? You don't give 10 times the character. Your button is reduced. Okay, that means what I'm saying is if I have one more star, so then again I have to escape. If I have one more star, then I have to again escape. Okay, so this is what you are doing. All right. All right, so rather than this, and I can go with so star. It's easier, right? You get the same output. So quotes, same output is easier basically. So that's where we use quotes. Okay, in the inputs to the commands, whenever you are providing, if there are any special characters, okay, so then we have to use quotes, single quotes and double quotes. Single quotes does not allow any special characters, whereas double quotes allow at least your variables to access in between. Now let's say sometimes your variable also can be like this. Okay, so $10. Okay, $10, price is equal to $10. So you're in price is equal to $10. Okay, you're in single quotes. So then what's gonna happen? You will not get the output as expected. Sorry. Echo, so price is equal to $10. So it's a currency, it's not a variable basically, but I'm printing something like that. So then what I need to do here, so if I just hit enter, so you see this price is equal to 0 you're getting. What is that? Because the dollar is a special character and $1 is actually trying to print a variable. Okay, so now you know what is $1 variable also, right? So now I want to escape this again. Even in the double quotes I can escape by using this backslash. Okay, so even I can avoid that also by using backslash in the double quotes wherever I want. Otherwise it always access the variable, and that is the purpose of quotes. Clear? Any questions?
Where can I use single quotes for $10?
What is that?
Can we use single quotes for $10?
Yeah, you can use. Any questions? Okay, so the next thing is going to be is redirectors. Okay, so what is this redirectors and why do you require this particular redirectors? Okay, so like let's say you see our script itself, actually it is printing a lot of output on the screen, and I'm not expecting this particular output on the screen. So whereas I want to put this output to a separate file, I want to put an output to the separate file, but this particular I want to put this output to a separate file, but this output should be this output, okay, should be available in a separate file, and whenever I want, I'll be going and referring that particular one. Okay, so outputs I don't want to print it on the screen. Okay, so that is where so our inputs also should be not actually given through the keyboard. Okay, so in that particular case, we usually go with these redirectors. Like say you have some system, right? So assume you have a system. Okay, so this is your system, and to this system, so how do you provide your input? So you provide your input through keyboard, isn't it? Where do you get the output? You get the output on the terminal, on the screen. On the terminal you're going to get it. Now if I just want to replace both the things with to and fro with a file, so to and fro with a file, so then I use we use input redirector. So that means a greater than symbol actually, so telling that the output actually going to the file. Okay, so this input redirector is actually telling that it is actually taking this particular one to the file. Okay, so that's understanding. If you understand that arrow, that is fine basically. Okay, you replace with the file. So now you have any command you're executing and you want to send that particular output to a file, so output to a file, so then this it goes output. Now you actually have any command and you want to take the input from the file, so you give the file. You remember you have Mongo and giving the file of catalog.js in our script, in our commands, right? If you remember. So how do you do that? So we just did this, right? So input redirector, that means all the content whatever you have will be loaded into the Mongo, not by typing actually. Okay, from a file you load it. All right, so the same way the command is also going to be generating the output. If you want to read the output, you put it to a file. All right, so that's what we're going to do, and so that is why we use redirectors. So two redirectors, so one is input and the other one is output. Okay, now if I am having this particular ls command, so this ls command is actually generating some output, so I redirect the output and give the output file as /tmp/out. There's no output came through, but ls command has executed it. ls command is being executed in the backend, but the output you'll see on this file. That's it. Okay, and also sometimes you will see an output and an error also. Okay, that means ls-d of ld of /boot, no issues, this is an output, and also give /boot1, this directory doesn't exist. Now you see this as an error, this as an output. Okay, now let's say if I go and redirect this particular output to /tmp/out file. Okay, so the output went, actually the boot output went to this file. So if you add this file also, you can see the boot, but basically whatever you're seeing here now, this is an error. This is an error. Okay, so how do you handle this error now? So then what you need to do is, so you need to redirect this to, okay, the redirectors is of two types. So the one is one redirector symbol or a simple redirector symbol, so it's actually going to be an output. Okay, and the second one is a two redirector symbol. Okay, and it's actually going to be an error. So if you want to put it any errors to a file, then actually you're going to give to redirect and that particular error. So now I'll just go and give here. So here one, if you give one or you don't give one is also is an output, and to redirect /tmp/error. Okay, now cat /tmp/error. So you see that error went to here. No output actually came from this command now, right, on the screen. Output went to one file, error went to one file. But sometimes you want both output and error to the same file. So that means the number you just mark as ampersand. That means all the output and error goes to the same file. So now you see this file. Okay, cat this file. That's it. Pretty simple, right? So if you have any output and you want to put it to your file, and even both the error and output, so then you will be using the ampersand symbol and greater than. But this greater than symbol, is going to override the content of /tmp out. So the /tmp out was there from pretty long time, right? So that means so ls command we ran it, so we had some output, and later we ran it. Okay, so we got a new output. That means it's already every time it's actually overriding the output. Okay, overriding the file. Okay, so now what I'm actually want to do is append the content. So now I give double ampersand symbol, you run it multiple times, and even you run this also with the double redirected symbol. Then you see that cat /tmp out file, you are going to get a lot of content. So it's actually appending the content rather than overriding the content. We are going to append the content. Okay, so yeah, this is what we're going to do now with the output inside our script. Okay, now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to come to the front end. I need this particular output to send to a file basically. Okay, fine. So how do I send it? So I will just go to the common. So I want to keep it in a very common one. So log_file is equal to /tmp/ roboshop.sh. Okay, I go with this. Sorry, roboshop.log. Okay, roboshop.log, you are going to make it. And so I want to remove this file if it is already there, rm-f$log_file. If it's already there, I'll remove it, and again I'll recreate it when I run it actually. I'll come to the front end. So now what I'm going to do is ampersand double redirected symbol $log_file. If I want to change the log file, I change it in one place and it just affects everyone. Okay, so that's the idea. So now if you just give this and you never got the output of that particular you never get the output of that particular yum install Nginx on the screen. It will just simply go to the file. Okay, so which is going to be printed now. Now what it is telling is this operation not permitted, rm-f are not used. Okay, sudo. Okay, that means actually this error you're getting, so that let's make it after this verifying. Then you will not get the error. After verifying you're a root user or not, then you remove the file. Okay, so yeah, so then now you will not get it. So even though if you would not go with sudo also, you will be getting a message that you are a root user. You should be a root user. All right, now I will go with sudo. I will get everything. So installing Nginx, which is fine. But actually I'm not okay. I don't have output now, but how do I validate whether my script went fine or it's actually a failure? I don't know, right? I don't know, but I need to validate now. Okay, I don't have an output, so system has to decide, the script has to decide that yum command went fine or it did not went fine. And how do we do that? And that particular part we can take care from in the tomorrow session. So which is an exit status. We'll start with the exit status tomorrow. We'll understand what is that exit status. Now system can catch that particular status and decide, okay, Nginx went fine, let me print a success message. Okay, Nginx is a failure, okay, let me print another message. So it will decide, okay, how to make it decide, how to make the decision. We'll see that in tomorrow's session. And that's all for today. Any questions?
Hey, Raghu, in the example where we had echo quotes print $10, so it was taking not $10 as the variable, not $10 as the variable, but just $1.
Yeah, obviously, right? So that's what we even yesterday I shown you, right? Okay, so a variable should not start with a number, right? We have a statement, right? Why? Because if you start with a number, it just starts with one single number and it will stop. So if you want to bound that 10 as 1, then how you give the boundaries? By using the flower braces. If you want to access $10, then dollar, and in the flower braces you have to give 10. Yeah. Any questions?
I mean, this is not related to the topic, but on the login of the homepage, you have some dates for the Christmas, right, and the
Right.
holiday. So
Yeah.
are those correct? Are those
Yeah, those are correct only.
the three days is off?
Yeah. It's actually a long weekend, so I don't want to ruin people's long weekends. So yeah. So these are for Christmas. Actually, if people are sitting in India region, so we are going to not going to have a session on 25th, 26th, and 27th. For the people of US region, it's actually 24, 25, 26. And at the same time, you have New Year as well. So it's actually first, second, third is actually a long weekend again, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we want to take that. And for US people, it's actually 31st and 1st and 2nd. And there's a major festival in India, actually, especially in the region where I stay, basically. So very long days, but yeah, actually the festival is comprises of 3 days, and that's the problem came through. You cannot actually go with any kind of avoiding, because a lot of people will not be available during these days. And so let's take this as a gap. Actually, this is a major gap came 5 days. Yeah, 5 days in the sense one Sunday it will go, but at least 4 days. 4 days also, if you remember this. 3 days majorly we are going losing, but still don't have an option. I see it. Yeah. Please plan your vacations accordingly if you are want to plan. So that's where I just mentioned this part. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone? Any other questions? Okay. All right. No questions. We'll meet in tomorrow's session, and we'll continue that exit status, and we'll move on to the again making that particular robo shop. We'll again find out some issues, what all the issues, how to address. We'll talk about some more concepts in the scripting, and we'll move on from there. Okay. Thank you, and see you tomorrow. Bye. Good day. Good night.